Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Jazz Marie Core, aka EP94. So, previously on the podcast, I was showing you around Familiar, just their site, the plan overview. It's a really cool royalty tracking software, right, for publishers, presses. I think it really could be beneficial to them, especially, when dealing with so many, different distributors for ebooks, paperback, hardcover, right? You really need a good system to really monitor all of that and to have reports centralized collectively, how much authors are getting, paid out, and things like that. So I think it's a really stellar platform, and they have some other services they offer too. So listen back to that again, on this podcast. It's not just for submitters, writers, artists. It's also for, publishers, existing founding editors, and future ones too. So yeah, this episode, we will be covering an update in terms of a submission management system, right? So you may recall from, I think it was, what episode number was it, guys? I think it was, trying to remember. It was episode 54, where I was showing you around Oleada, right? And I had joined Oleada, this platform. I'm going to show you real quick here, right? Oleada, right? So in episode 54, it was, right? I did an Oleada overview, right? It's a submission management system. And back when I'd started Dippy Lit Mag or Dippy Literary Magazine, right? The first ever like intake system we had was just like Google Forms and email. And then eventually I was like, we have to have something better than that. So I moved over to Oleada and we were on it for a couple of months. But eventually I was looking for something with a little bit more in terms of features and, joined the CLMP membership to be able to use Submittable right at a discounted rate, a basic plan of $29 a month. And yeah, and then, a little over 2 years after that, right, I found out about Subfolio. And yeah, so Dippy Litmag is currently on Subfolio submission management system. And on this podcast, I have, covered just the overview and a couple others. I've done trials of a majority of these. Not every single submission management system in existence or even grant management, software, right, and things like that. But I've gone through a majority of the ones in existence and done pros and cons lists, things I like about them, things maybe that could improve, just a very quick review. And yeah, so I predominantly have experience, I would say, with, Submittable, Subfolio, and, I did use Oleada for a couple of months. And yeah, I think Oleada was way better than just using solely email, too. And, Duo Suma, Duotrope, I have experience with them too. And yeah, it's a really cool one. It's in my top five, Moksha as well is one that's pretty common in the community, used. And yeah, aside from Submittable, right? And on this podcast, I've shared various form builders, which is an alternative to submission management systems. There are a lot of, free, form builders out there, besides Tally Forms. I think is one of the better ones out there, Tally. And yeah, I think it's a step up from Google Forms. And Submittable, obviously, right? A lot of lit magazine presses till today use it. But I definitely, I would say I prefer Subfolio over, Submittable. And yeah, so just showing you it before we dive in here to Ola, so you get a little, tour of like what is possible here. So yeah, you can see there's Dippity, right? So yeah, um, so it seems like, I got an email, right? The other day, about Oleada, what's happening to it, right? You see this publisher accounts are currently in beta only. So Oleada for quite some time was in that like phase of, beta, and we weren't really sure like the direction of it and things like that. But there has been an update. So Oleada will be discontinued, it looks like, in February 2026. However, there is a completely new submission management system. You could consider it like the 2.0 version of Oleada, which is now going to be called Ola. So this is Ola here, right? And it's OLA. And they are in beta currently. They're offering, a 60-day trial to early users. And yeah, so if you have any questions, obviously, on it beyond my podcast overview, right? I'm not doing a trial of it for you guys on here. just going to do what I call an overview existent share episode, meaning talking through some of the things about it. And yeah, and then typically out on Substack, or I'll do an article write up elsewhere on it, like pros, cons, things I like about it. I will also be doing some one-on-one, Q and A's with a lot of these founders of these platforms I've covered, not just submission management systems, but a few more. So just asking a few more questions and to share and introduced it, to others, who follow maybe the mailing list of this podcast, because not everyone likes audio. I know that. So I try to do two formats and to share a little bit further beyond this podcast with you guys. So if you're interested, totally signed up to litmaglabsubstack.com and that mailing list. And I'm hoping to do that in the near future. And if you're not a fan of mailing lists, totally just drop by, sometimes and stop by and read the articles, drop a comment there if you'd like. Totally, welcome to. So, Ola again is a submission manager designed and built by the small press community for the small press community, from the team that brought you Asterism. So you may recall I covered Asterism books on this podcast, and that was, I think, episode 63. And then I covered distribution a little bit further in episode 67. So again, Asterism Books is a trade distributor and online bookstore, and they help independent publishers. Not everyone can get on board with the distributor, or one like Asterism. Again, it depends. They have to approve you, vet your publication and series. But I think Joshua. I apologize if I mispronounced the last name. Rothis. I think it's Rothis. Josh here is the founder of Asterism Books, right? And he has extensive experience in publishing and also development, which is really cool. So again, he created Oleata, and that again is going away, I believe, the start of February 1st, 2026. Yeah. So this will be no more. So I just wanted to do an update episode for you guys on the creation and launch of Ola, which he has just started up here. I think it looks really cool. Compared to I think it's definitely has a new design and layout. We see Oleata, right? It's night and day. So I think it really looks awesome. And yeah, just like, the site overview, I have created an account, and I'm going to do a trial of it for you guys, and, ask a few more questions around it for you as well in the near future here. But just going to talk through some of the pricing, the plans, and share it with you guys. Again, just an existent sharing episode. So yeah, you really have to, do a test drive yourself of these submission management systems to see if it's what you like, which one's going to be easiest for you to use, your team. And I think it's also, a good idea to consider, what the features are for submitters, right? And it's important on both sides that it's easy to use, totally, right? So, yeah. So let's take a look at the features of Ola, right, listed below here. So it states here there's no caps on submissions. There's no limit to how many submissions your calls can receive. So the standard plans have up to 10 open calls at a time, while pro plans are unlimited. Yeah, so I think that's nice. With submittable, the minimum on the basic plan as of 2025, is just 6 bucket calls, at a time, 6 buckets. So yeah, and Sofolio gives you unlimited, and on the plan we're on, $29 a month. So I think that's nice. 10 open calls, and Dapple, they have pricing here. So Dapple's plan the step up from here. It looks like they give you up to 20 projects, right? So yeah. But I think anything beyond, 6 is pretty nice, in terms of that. So I think that's really great. And yeah, and they do have a pro plan with unlimited, and we'll take a look at the pricing here in a little bit. It states here full control of submission calls, set open and close dates for your calls, accept submissions until a quota is met, or limit submissions by word count. So that's nice. Organized communication. Send direct messages to submitters with feedback and updates on their submissions. Discover open calls. So submitters can explore. So discover open calls. Submitters are able to explore and filter open calls based on what they're looking for. There are customizable submission forms on the Pro plan. You can see there, right? So tailored submission forms to gather the exact information you need from applicants or submitters. And then we'll go up here, team collaboration. So you're able to invite other users to collaborate on your projects, engage in editorial discussions, and vote on submissions. You can also assign submissions to one or more users for review. So I think that's nice. I don't really know what that entails quite yet. Again, I haven't done a trial of it, but yeah, I really like the ability or the mention of voting, right? Discussions. I think that's important for teams, chat messaging, not just with submitters, but also with your team. So Subfolio has that, Dapple has that. And yeah, and voting and giving a rating, right? Duo Suma has that too. And I think it's some other submission management systems have that, but I really think that's a really awesome feature, and it's important to, be able to collaborate with your team members, right? Could be your editorial assistants, a managing editor, your reading team. I think that's vital to do that. Not all teams are able to, have daily or weekly meetings. So I think being able to leave messages, notes, even on submissions is a very important feature to have. So yeah, and it says you can also assign submissions to one or more users for review. So yeah, I think that's important to be able to collaborate and on submissions, right? Reading teams, absolutely. There are workflow tags, so that's great. So pro users can have workflow tags to organize and prioritize submissions and create custom tags for their projects. Yeah. So I think that's really nice. Again, Oli Ida, right? The one before this, right? Ola didn't have that at all. And I think that's really nice. I love tags. I love being able to customize them. Submittable has like, color coded tags, Folio does. And, even Moksha has some great capabilities there. Dapple as well, So I think tagging is absolutely important. It helps, tags whenever I've used the submission system with tagging, I really like that. It really lets me mark things, in terms of a little bit further to, beyond a filter, right? You can specifically tag something like, for example, right, when we have like a fast response submission or certain particular requests, right, we can tag that, make everyone aware. And yeah, and it really helps, to have tagging and stuff and labeling like that. Not just, relying on keyword searches and stuff. You can really have a set of submissions tagged or identified and really do that. Yeah, it can help really with keeping track of things. Absolutely. Thoughtful moderation. So you can flag submissions for review and provide feedback on submissions to ensure quality and adherence to guidelines. So yeah, that sounds great. I like seeing places that have moderation features. Subfolio and Duosuma definitely have moderation. I know Dapple is maybe, we'll see. I know they just launched this year. They're looking to maybe add or just features based on feedback in terms of that. So not every single submission management system has moderation features built in, and I think that's, a step up from like, way, this is a step up way beyond, something like Google Forms or just any form system in general. Again, you have a lot of collaboration, communication features, and organizational options with submission management systems in general. Yes, it does add more to your bill a little bit, but I think it's worth it. Relying on email, it's not the best thing to do at all. Things can get lost a lot of times. Sure, there's tags that you can create, labels in email, but it's nice to have an archive, and central place that team members can communicate, collaborate. You can have records, submitter records in your submission management system, retrace things, for nomination events, right? You have to, oftentimes have contact information to provide for those events and awards, right? So it's really great to keep all of that and to, be centralized, right? And yeah, in-app file preview, so you can review PDFs and Word documents without leaving the app. Support for more file types coming soon. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Audio, video is something we oftentimes, run into at, Dippy Litmag, for instance, right? And yeah, other lit mags and journals, presses out there, I'm sure, do that from time to time. Spoken word, audio submissions and things like that. So yeah, multimedia submissions is on the Pro plan. So, need to take big files, no problem. Pro plan users can upload video, audio, other large file types. So yeah, and yeah, in-app file preview is nice. Again, Dapple has that. Submittable, of course, has that feature. Subfolio and other ones, right? I've mentioned this podcast. I'm not going to go through every single one, but check out the pros and cons list I put together. A lot of submission management systems have a great, checklist of features, and of course, you can always do a trial of most of them, right? And test drive it out. So yeah, I think it's nice to be able to have in-app file previews. You don't have to download, files. You can view everything, and only then, upon, an acceptance or the final decision, right? Download it and then, publish it, right? So it's really nice to do that. And yeah, was submittable right on the basic plan as of 2025, with CLP's membership, right? You don't get the ability, right, to do in-app, audio preview or anything like that, or you have to like download that every time. It's like, oh, you have to upgrade, right? So I really didn't like that. I thought, it'd be nice, on the plan we could also, if we could do not just, document files, but audio video previews, right? So if the submittable plan, I think that's again a disadvantage, right? So that's nice that Ola has that in-app file preview and is looking to, do more things there, right? So coming soon, there'll be custom branding available, right? So Ola pages will allow unique branding, custom domains, and more. So coming soon is also public profiles. So submitters will be able to showcase their work, social media links, and more on their public profiles. So that's really cool, yeah. And I think Submittable doesn't really have anything like that, in terms of profiles. Safolio has a nice like portfolio like setup and things like that. And I haven't looked too much as I have in terms of Dabble, but I have done a trial of it, to look at the primary features. But I think that sounds pretty unique, the public profiles, social media links. It sounds cool. So yeah, looking forward to those. Yeah. So in terms of pricing plans, let's take a look. Right. Again, they just are launching, so some things are going to be added down the road. I think I saw a roadmap as well. So they have a one-off plan, a quick solution for a one-time submission call. There's a $20, one-time fee, right? So you can create a single submission call, invite other team members to collaborate again, receive text, Word, and PDF submissions, receive up to 500 submissions. So that's not bad at all, And then they have a standard publishing plan, right? So this is $19, 19.99 a month, right? And up to 10 active submission calls for project, receive unlimited submissions, invite other team members to collaborate, team member voting on submissions, receive text, Word, and PDF submissions. So that's really good, in terms of pricing, $20 a month, that's not bad at all. Again, currently we're paying, Safolio $29 a month, and also Dapple is a little bit higher, but again, they have a CLMP membership discount. So, it is definitely, one of the ones out there that is pricing that is pretty, I think budget friendly, and in terms of, Subfolio, right? So we go back here. I'm just going to do some comparison for you guys here while we're on here. So let's look at the pricing here, right? So Subfolio does have a $10 a month plan, right? So this one has up to 100 free submissions a month. So yeah. And then there's a $29 per month plan. So this one has pretty much everything's unlimited, right? And yeah. So that's great. So yeah, I think that's not bad at all. $20 a month. That's pretty, cost friendly, I must say. They do have a premium plan, and that's $35 a month. That's still not too bad. I would say anything that's like 50, 60, $75, that's way too high for me personally. Again, that's why, Moksha, I think, is outside of most, budgets, for lit magazine journals and presses. And yeah, they don't have Moksha any CLMP membership discount to date, and I don't know if Ola will ever have any CLMP membership benefits or anything like that one day. But currently, to my knowledge, just Subfolio, Dapple, Duosuma, and Submittable have CLMP membership discounts. Of course, if that ever changes, right, that's great. If more submission man systems have discounts through CLMP, that additional membership you can get as a lit mag journal press. So yeah, $35 a month, so it gets you all the bells and whistles. That's great. So unlimited submission calls for your project, receive unlimited submissions, create and manage custom workflow tags, create custom submission forms coming soon. You can take multimedia submissions, including audio and video. So yeah, this sounds like, basically a lot of the key features we have, on the current plan we have with Folio, right? It's $29 a month, but, it's not too bad. It's a little bit higher, $35 a month. But again, they do have, right, that $20 a month plan, $19.99, and that's not too bad either. you still get a lot of key features for that. I think that's really nice. So there's a 60-day free trial here. So I will be doing a free trial of it, not because I'm moving or anything like that, but I want to take the time to really cover these a little bit further with you guys and to share them, and talk with the founders of these submission management systems and to do that. So, again, you can check out the series, the text-based version of it that I'm gradually growing and working on. May carry into early next year. And then that's when I probably will drop off and doing as many podcast episodes and things like that for a little bit. But yeah, that still sounds very friendly though. This pricing, these pricing plans. So I think that's really nice. So yeah, it states here, do you have custom workflows or advanced needs, right? Again, they have enterprise pricing for organizations that need a little more control and customization over their workflows. And yeah, they are able to, maybe work with you to find a solution, right? So why choose Ola, right? So again, it's stating here, first and foremost, right, I'm quoting this off their site, they have a proven track record of helping create systems, tools, and models with small presses in mind. Their goal with Ola is to reduce clutter for editors while allowing for clearer communication between publishers and authors with a thoughtful user experience built around ensuring everyone's on the same wavelength. From communicated expected response times to offering powerful moderation tools to ensure you're seeing only the most relevant submissions. They aim to offer a range of services, but most importantly are committed to keeping the software feature-rich and affordable for all of your submission needs. So, yeah, it states here, is the feature set the same as Oleada? So, again, it's quoting here, while they took inspiration from Oleada, right, this one, which was the start of it all, you could say, and yeah, while they took inspiration from Oleada and other submission managers, Ola has been built entirely from scratch and with a lot of new workflow options for publishers. There's built-in workflow tags, again, for more fine-grained submission management, including the ability to create your own, a voting system for group decisions on submissions, the ability to add members, team members, and assign submissions to them, new in-app notifications, better in-app previews for Word and PDF files, moderation tools for both flagging potentially harmful submissions and also for rating submissions based on relevance. So, yeah, that's great. I don't know what the voting system entails quite yet, whether it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, a score of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 or what that basically looks like. However, I know most places do use some sort of, again, voting system or scoring system with their reading team, a way to, grade the submissions in a sense, right? Scoring is important. And voting, I think, is nice to have. So that's great. Oleada, the one before this, right, didn't have anything like that. So it seems like they've really addressed a lot of really key features and implemented in Ola, which is really cool to hear about. So what about submission fees? Yes, we all know about submission fees, right? What about them? So it states here, at present, they do not have an option to require submission fees, and they're still deciding how they might implement this in the future. They hope that their approach to software development eliminates at least some of the need to collect fees, affordable pricing, a UX made to encourage thoughtful submissions, and they want to make sure that any potential submission fee structure serves both publishers and authors. Yeah, so currently they don't have anything in terms of as of November 2025 when I'm saying this, right, any ability to set submission fees inside the system, right? Ola, who knows, that may change. Not every single lit mag in existence charges submission fees, right? Dippy Lit Mag, we got rid of our submission fees, right? And not at Dippity Press though. So yeah, and I think it'd be nice. I don't see any mention of a tip jar of any kind. I don't know, but that would be nice to see. Hopefully they include something like that. A way to maybe give a donation or tip of some kind. To a lit mag or journal, and that would be optional, right? Not required tips or anything like that. Tips should never be required, right? And yeah, so as I said on the podcast, episode 51, right? Should you be paying, reading fees? Are they a scam? Find free lit mags, right? So I was just showing you how to filter the places to check, for fee-free opportunities, right? And yeah, obviously Chill Subs is fairly well known, and then the Discover pages are really great with a lot of these submission management systems, right? So if we go here, right, like Subfolio's discover page, right, and Submittable has a discover page, and Duosuma has a discover opportunities page as well. So yeah, and yeah, so I'm gonna go up here and let me see if I can find it for you guys. So browse calls for submissions, right? So this is a sample of like their browse open calls section, which is really nice. So I guess you could consider it like a discover page too. And yeah, so they have tags here, right, that others will be able to filter, once there's more calls, more publishers in here, right? Art and design, literary fiction, short story, right? Poetry, obviously, right? Yeah, queer literature and photography, right? They're just getting started. Just some examples right now, right? You can see, right, how calls will look like essentially when it's up and running. Yeah, so that's cool. They're just getting up and going again, so nothing is here quite yet. These are just examples, I believe. But yeah, it looks very clean, the filtering. I'm sure they'll add more to this or adjust it based on feedback. That's usually what happens with, submission man systems or any software or platform in beta, and after it gets going, right, they gradually, work on it and iron things out. So yeah, I think they have a roadmap at the bottom of their page here. So yeah, so I think that's nice. I don't see a lot of places have roadmaps or outright tell you what they're working on and the upcoming features. So I think this is really nice to see. Some places have like newsletters or things like that, but I think it's really cool that we're able to see what's being worked on, right? So they're collecting, user feedback, in the upcoming month, right? Critical bugs. And yeah, email notifications with preference center, right? They've done a lot, right? So there's passwordless login. You can log in, I think, with a link similar to, some of the other platforms maybe you're aware of, right? So I don't think there's single sign-on, with it currently. But there is, I think, a link type login, and things like that, Um, yeah, or of course you could do traditional login, username, password. Yeah, so they've added workflow tags, right? Invitation options, right? Pro plans, right? Support custom forms, multimedia submissions, auto assignment, new submissions to new, you know, auto assignment, right? To team members, right? Submission quotes for open calls, browse filters, discover new submission calls, bulk options, assign change status for submissions. And yeah, it looks like that's all being currently worked on, right? That was just completed November, right? 7th. So it looks like they're working on expanding, the field set for custom forms, and then they have, in the next 3 to 4 months, and they have in the next 3 to 6 months, right? So they're hoping to allow authors to follow projects and get notified when submission calls open. And yeah, so I think that's great to allow authors to follow projects and get notified when submission calls open. Custom logos and header images for your page, advanced custom forms, a work queue to see all of your assignments in one place, public profiles for submitters, and then 6 to 12 months, they're hoping to add an option to anonymize submissions, which is great. Yeah, I do think that's a nice feature that a lot of lit magazine journals would really leverage, to conceal cover letters and names from some calls, right? I think that's important to have. Submittable has that, Dapple, other ones, right? Subfolio. And yeah, so yeah, Moksha and Duosuma are really great too. I mentioned, right, Subfolio, Dapple, right, and Submittable, right? I think Ola. It sounds like they've done a lot of really great additions and improvements. Compared to where Oleada was, in the past. I think it has a lot of key features that would be really beneficial to others, and the pricing looks overall very affordable. Absolutely. Um, Custom subdomains, and then implement a one-off plan for creating a single submission window. Long-term goals, so 1 year and beyond. Dark mode and custom color themes for products. Yes, I do like that. I'm someone who, for the past couple of years have been leaning more towards dark mode and just using that. So I don't know, for, any platform that has dark mode, I typically automatically switch to it because it's easier on my eyes. I don't know. It just is, oftentimes. So I like dark mode. I think that's nice to have that option. We have that on Substack, right? And stuff like that, and some other systems, even some apps nowadays. I think Dapple has that, right? And yeah, so I don't see a lot of places have that currently, but hopefully more places will add that because it's easier on my eyes, totally. I love that. Dark mode is, I'm a fan of dark mode. Yeah. And yeah. And customization is always a plus, I think, whenever you're able to customize something, it allows you a little bit further to really make it, match your like publication, and the vibe of it, right? And like headers, images, logos, I think that's important, right? So yeah. So yeah, they're looking to scale the platform and then introduce, more advanced tools to integrate with other services, APIs, webhooks, etc. And I'm sure more and more would be added, based on feedback. So, anyways, that sounds really cool. The upcoming things ahead. Looking forward to seeing what that all entails. Yeah, so right now there's not, I'm not going to do a trial of it or anything like that, but of course you can always reach out, to Josh, and again, it's built from the team that brought you Asterism Books, right? So yeah, so I think Josh has created a very cool, submission management system here, right? Ola, right? It's like Oleato 2.0, but Ola, right? So yeah, I think it's looks really awesome. The features sound cool. I have, created a login just to like see, a little bit, and yeah, it has a very clean design. Obviously, right? You could do a trial of it, reach out to get started if you need help, right? And I think you're able to, if you're already with Asterism, right? I think there's a way to just use that account, right, with them since they're together, right? Um, yeah. So that's pretty much it. Did I cover everything, right? So yeah, I think that's all, in terms of the site and the pricing and plans. And yeah, so it looks like they're offering again a 60-day trial to early users. So yeah, you can reach out about that, if you have any questions or you want to give it a go. And definitely, check out the other ones I mentioned too. Just because, I like Safolo doesn't mean it'll be for you, right? Everyone, has a software or platform that they like. Maybe it's easier for them to navigate, or it has some of the it all depends, on which one again is easiest for you to use, that fits your budget and what you're looking for. I think Ola, absolutely, it sounds like they have a lot of really fundamental key features that are needed, again, for communication, team collaboration, and also, considering the submitter side, it's important that they have a nice, very clean, place to view all of their submissions and things like that, right? Again, I think it's really challenging nowadays because there are so many platforms to choose from nowadays, right? Or I mean, rather, there are a lot of different submission management systems out there. Not every single Lit Mag journal is on the same submission manager, right? Obviously, Submittable is the one of the leaders, right, in the space. But I think again, with the ones that are coming out, right, this year specifically, right, we have Subfolio that came out, right, and then Dapple, right, and now Ola, right. So I think it's going to shake up Submittable, right. I think we're going to see hopefully, more and more publishers. I'm not saying Submittable sucks or anything like that. No, Submittable has a lot of really phenomenal features. I think again, we just weren't able to take advantage of a lot of those features or really use it because you have to upgrade, or it's not, beyond what's covered on the CMP membership discount plan, right? $29 a month. And then additional, right? It's like, slightly over $100, right? So it's like 125, right? A year annually for the additional CMP membership, right? And yeah, so what do you get on that plan? You get everything stripped back, minimal features, right? So there are times you're like, oh, you have to upgrade to use this, right? So that was really hard. We could only have like a certain amount of calls, right? Like 6 buckets open at a time. I also didn't find workflows were very easy to create, and I find it's a more, I was able to, if you're able to use a system within a few minutes, or, within the first couple minutes, or, first half an hour, if you're able to catch on to something and use it fairly quickly without, having to, sure, it helps to have videos and additional training and things around it. But I think if you're able to grasp it fairly quickly on your own, that says something about the design of the system, right? That it's user friendly, and that, you don't need, again, a lot of technical experience to get the hang of it. Some submission management systems out there or other platforms, right? Sometimes they're so complicated, there's too many things in it that you feel like a bit lost, like a needle in a haystack, right? And in terms of submissions, right, I think it really minimizes that the problems of things getting lost, things getting displaced. You lose track of like where things are. Right, with a submission management system, you can really stay on top of where everything's at. Right, it's not a needle in a haystack situation. It's more of like, yeah, this is the status of this, and Ola, I saw when I did a login, right, there is different statuses, right? So in progress, the acceptances, what, is, you can monitor all of that, right? Typical, what submission management systems have, which is really nice, to have those statuses, right? With email, right, submitters don't really see that, right? They're like, oh, I wonder if I should email them to check in, like, where's the status of my submission? I don't know. Like, beyond just an email that they send back, which you don't always get, from places, right? Or things like that when they submit to an email address, right? So submission management system, it's nice. You can have, canned responses when, a submitter sends, you can let them know this is the typical window. You'll hear a response back. You can give them additional, heads up, you can do things like that, right? Love submission management systems let you have customization, right? So Ola looks really cool. And again, totally check out, Subfolio, Dapple, the other ones I mentioned on this podcast. The episodes, off the top of my head, I cannot remember all of them, but I can maybe pull them up for you guys and share. So yeah, again, Subfolio, I covered a couple different times on this podcast, just briefly, episode 36. Episode 35 was submittable. Episode 53 was Duosuma, and episode 52 was Dapple. And some things have changed with Dapple since I, read their site, right? I think they have adjusted their website a little bit and, have adjusted things based on feedback and added a couple features, or maybe doing a little bit more in terms of, based on feedback. So that's great. The feedback they had with their user base thus far. And yeah, so yeah, there was an episode, that I covered, which mission management system would I recommend, and yeah, so obviously, I mentioned, right, Subfolio, right, a Duo Suma, right, we're in the top five, and yeah, and submittable. But yeah, and Dapple, I think it looks really cool too, and Ola. So I would say, Ola and Dapple are up there, absolutely, in submission man systems that could really benefit others, absolutely. Dapple does have a CMP membership discount, so yeah, and Subfolio and Dual Suma and Submittable. So yeah, I don't know if Ola will ever have anything like that, but hopefully one day, and yeah, so in either case, even without CMP membership discount, these plans are very cost friendly. I think for sure. It's way less than what Moksha has, right? Which is like 70, I think, what, $75 a month, or yeah, as of 2025 in November when I'm looking at this. So yeah, definitely check out Ola. Again, they're just starting up, just getting going. So it'll probably 6 to 12 months from now, I'm sure it'll look different quite a bit, in terms of the browse page. More and will be added, a little bit further. And, based on feedback, obviously places make adjustments, the best they can to, really help others, right? And publishers, and yeah. So yeah, I think it sounds really cool, the upcoming features, the roadmap, what's on it. So that's pretty much it. Again, it's just an existence sharing episode. Just wanted to give an update since I did, an episode on Oleada, right? So Oleada is, it's finally, so Oleada is going away, but Ola is coming in to take its place essentially. And I think it's really cool. It sounds really nice. The design, thus far is very clean. Even Astros and Books has a very clean and a nice website design. Absolutely. Don't forget to check out Astros and Books and the episode I have on that. And yeah, 2 episodes, I guess you could say, in terms of distribution. Yeah, 2 episodes, I say, in terms of distribution. So yeah, the site is olasubs.com. And yeah, so I'll drop a link to it, and just wanted to share it. So I'm hoping to do a little bit further trial of it, to be able to do like a very brief outline of like pros and cons, and maybe give feedback on it a little bit further. And then I'll also be, discussing, some of these platforms with the founders a little bit further, chatting with them. And yeah, so that's underway right now. And yeah, so I will let you know. It'll probably, I'm thinking, carry over into next year and things like that. But I'll try and share those as soon as possible. Yeah, the Q and A's I'm doing. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll help maybe others really, learn more about these submission man systems. And yeah, because I think it absolutely is. It's a lot of work creating a submission man system from scratch. Development is not easy at all. And I think that's amazing. Ola, the existence of Subfolio, Dapple, Dual Summa, Moksha, Submittable, even, right? And all these submission man systems. I think it's really cool, to see this. And yeah, so I think it's a really interesting. And yeah, I think they definitely make others lives easier. Yes, there's additional cost, to take on whenever you sign up with the submission man system, but you have to ask yourself, right, is it worth it? And I would say yes, because it's so important that submitters, writers, artists, whoever's submitting has a really great experience with your publication, and that everything's organized, right? Let's say you need to retrace something. Let's say you're going to create an anthology series, right? For example, you need to retrace the submission, back like, a couple years, right? 1 or 2 years back. And you're like, oh, and then like you're not digging through folders, you're not digging through email. You can pull it up fairly quickly from an archive, right? Submittable has an archive, you know, um, Subfolio, right? Dapple, I believe, as well, right? And other submission man systems, totally, they have archives typically. I'm not sure what the file retention is with Ola, or like the archive and storage looks like, to date. But yeah, that's something there. And of course, right, there are features, right, indicated, right, not yet implemented, that they're thinking about, right. Oli Ada, right, they mentioned, right, when it was first created, right, it was for the intention of those who don't have any submission fees in place. However, what we saw, right, was that some, presses, lit mags, right, that use the platform were, directing others from their site to say, hey, to submit to us, there is a fee, drop it to PayPal, this link, or they would direct you to do that. So I think it's nice to have an integrated system in terms of, yeah, the submission fees suck, but some places still have submission fees. Not every single place in existence. There are a lot of lit mag journals and presses that do not charge fees, right? So keep that in mind. But I think it'd be really nice to see. Hopefully, they add an optional tip jar, for submitters that maybe donate to lit magazine journals, or in the process of submitting. I see a lot of submitters do that versus going out to external donation pages and things like that typically. So it'd be cool if they had that one day. Yeah, so a lot of the submission man systems to date that I've looked at, the more recent ones that have launched, have typically a Stripe integration of some kind. In terms of payouts and all of that stuff, and things like that. And yeah, that's nice to see. And so anyways, yeah, that's something I think they're considering again. Maybe implementing a way for some things. Absolutely, I think contests, I think it, for the most part, a lot of contests do have some sort of fee, is what I've seen. Things like that. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, either way, I think it sounds really nice. The pro plan is really cost friendly, and also the the most basic plan, even, right? So it's yeah. And yeah, I don't think I would ever have like use a one time call plan per se, but that's really nice, to have, I think, still. But yeah, I think it's really nice that that's a one time fee for a one time submission call, and you can receive up to 500 submissions. I think this plan is really cool, though. I think that's unique to have. But I think most would be attracted probably to, right, the standard publisher plan, or even the premium pro plan, based on the amount of features you get for those. So yeah, again, you can totally reach out. They have contact information on their site if you're interested in checking out Ola. I think it definitely sounds really cool, and yeah, definitely one to check out, if you're looking for a submission management system. Don't forget to look at the other ones that I covered on this podcast, right, in episode 56. So obviously I go out and update description links, and I updated the review article I have on these. outlining a couple pros and cons. Not every single thing I cover in the list, but just like the most fundamental things that stand out to me personally. So yeah, I haven't, done a review on Ola quite yet, but I will circle back to it and check it out a bit further for you guys and just give my thoughts. So yeah, so I think that's it. I think Ola looks awesome, and yeah, submission managers to me, are just very fascinating, right? The structure of them and just software in general and platforms. I like learning about them and features and everything. I think it's really cool. So yeah, the whole aspect again of not just helping publishers but writers, right? So I think it's nice to see a browse or discover calls page, which they have, created. I think that's a really nice addition. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this really be built out even further. It's going to look like it's going to grow, and absolutely, I think it has some really again nice plans in place. So yeah, take care, guys. And again, just a share episode here, real quick. Update in terms of what happened to Olita and now Ola, coming into play, right? Launching. So it's a looks like a really nice Mish manager. And yeah, if you again are interested in getting a trial, I think just totally sign up, reach out if you have any issues, getting a trial growing, and things like that, or any questions you have on any of the submission managers. I'm sure that, any of these submission managers I've covered in the podcast totally would, work with you, help answer your questions. You really have to try it out yourself. Me just talking about it, right, and sharing my thoughts, sure, that may help you maybe select one. But, what I like may not, again, be what necessarily works for you. Every Lit Mag journal press is structured a little bit differently, right? So, you have to take into consideration what features are most important to you and your call volume and your budget, right? So, and the other things, right? Ease of use, totally. So, take care, guys, and signing off for this episode. Yeah, check out Ola. P.S. Guys, just a additional note I'm tacking on here. So, yeah, really love that submission management systems have these discover pages, or you could say browse open call pages. I think they're really really lovely. Absolutely helpful too. And yeah, the filtering. I'm sure more will be added to this. This is just starting out right with Ola. And again, that's OLA. So totally, check it out and a bit further. I lost a portion of audio here, but I wanted to show you, right? This is Duo Suma again, the current submission opportunities page. So this is like the discover page of Duo Suma, you could say. So the different calls are here, right? And you can filter by the type, right? Akin to, right, Ola. And yeah, so that's awesome, So as publishers join Ola, right, that'll have more results in here, right? Way more, and publishers on board with them. And yeah, so this is Subfolio's Discover page. Again, really great to have customization here, right? And yeah, and then submittable, of course, this is their Discover Opportunities page. So yeah, we left submittable right this summer of 2025, and yeah, I think it was absolutely worth it to move over to Subfolio. We don't have as many limitations, restrictions in terms of, again, the number of calls we can have open on Subfolio, right? And yeah, so you can watch the Subfolio episodes and the other episodes I did on the various submission management systems, just talking through some of the features, my thoughts. And then, I typically will type out some articles or bullet points on some of the key things that stood out to me on yeah, on these totally. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, the one thing I would say, if you're ever migrating off of like, Submittable, right? It's widely used, by a lot of lit mags, journals and presses, right? There's probably, several hundred calls in here or something like that. I don't know how many, but of course, we lost a lot of that submission traffic we used to see, after our migration. So things have been much slower. Hence, I'm doing these episodes and other things, since it's a slower, time for us, the rest of the year compared to, previous years. But, that's okay. I think absolutely we have a lot more flexibility on Subfolio. And yeah, I mentioned, right, Dapple and, a few other submission management systems, Moksha, right, Dual Suma and, Submittable, right? So, it's really up to you which one you want to go with. I've just basically tried to share my thoughts and, so totally check out the review article. I plug in links in the description. You can, look at, the scoring and the rating I have on those, some key points. Keep in mind, a lot of the submission management systems, or the ones in beta, or that have launched this year, or launching more features next year. So at the time of the review, right, I just look at, what's present there, and just mention, yeah, things may change in the future over time, right? Every system irons out things, adds features. So it's just at the present time what I'm seeing and taking consideration for that. So yeah, anyways, really looking forward to seeing more from Ola. It seems really cool. Again, I think again, it's changed. It has a nice, landing page, compare it and browse calls, and the website's very organized, pricing plans and everything. And yeah, it has a lot of really, again, key features, and I think it's really price friendly, for lit magazine journals. Absolutely, I think, again, anything that would be like, 50, 60, 75, or 100 something dollars is way outside of my budget, per month. So I think this is really nice. The standard plan and premium plan they have. And yeah, totally, again, listen back to some of the other podcast episodes on the ones I mentioned, right? Subfolio, right? Duosuma, Dapple. And yeah, again, some things I believe have changed with the Dapple, right? They just launched this year, and they are, gradually, updates happen with a lot of these submission management systems, feature additions, right? Think about Submittable, right? Just for example, right? When it started way back, right? It's changed a lot drastically. So I think over time, a lot of these submission management systems will evolve and change a little bit further. For most part, features, key features stay the same, but there's gradual improvements over time. Absolutely. So yeah, totally, again, gonna drop links, and that's all I wanted to tack on and add there, because I had lost some screen share portion, in terms of what I was talking about. But that's Ola. Yeah, just an overview, just talking about some of the features, what's to come, it looks like. Totally check out the roadmap a little bit further, and yeah, always helps to do a trial of any, new system or platform to get a feel for it. They're just starting out and ramping up, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm sure next year a lot of the features will, be rolled out. The other ones mentioned, right, coming soon, and it's really going to, kick off. Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting this year. We had Subfolio, Dapple, and now Ola, coming into play. So yeah, I think it's going to, again, really change. It's going to be interesting. How many, lit magazine journals, migrate, either from their existing system to a new one, right? Because I think there's a lot of really great, submission man systems in existence now to really leverage. I think, a lot of times others are like, oh, Submittable's the lead one out there. But now we have a lot of different options on the table, right? And again, it really comes down to, what works best for you and your publication. So I just share, what worked for me, and what I've found really easy to use, right? I grasped Subfolio fairly quickly. And that's it. Some of the other ones I mentioned, yeah, they're very user friendly. Some of them, I think, their navigation, a couple notes I make here and there. With any new system, right, it just really takes time to grasp it, absolutely, anything like that. But a lot of these systems, right, not all of them quite yet, have some videos and training, right, that really is nice to have, additionally. So just keep that in mind. A lot of helpful articles, KB articles, that screenshots too, to help you and answer questions, totally. So then I hope this helped, this existence share episode. And don't forget, again, so again, Ola is, not just for small presses, right? It mentions, right, the magazine community. I just want to emphasize that again. And yeah, anything in terms of, publication or intaking submission calls, right? It's a very useful, right? Submission management systems in general. And yeah, so again, Oleada, started off as a free submission platform, and now, that's going away. So goodbye, Oleada. I just want to say that, right? There we are, Dippy Literary Magazine from, a couple years ago, right? Way back. And yeah, so definitely, Oleada, I would say, was very helpful, at the time. We had, a call with our issue, right? And one of our magazine issues. And then, I ended up leaving, at the time. There just wasn't enough, features, that we needed. But Ola, definitely looks really cool, and a lot of really awesome features that, a lot of submission man systems out there have today. So really, really exciting, I must say. Again, Ola, and really cost friendly plans. So just wanted to take the time to share it with you guys that Olieta's going away just real quick. Well, it wasn't again quick. I would say the episodes are quick, but they're like again like averaging always an hour. But I just like talking through things. It helps me, and hopefully it helps you. But yeah, one additional note, I didn't really mention on this episode Dual Suma's pricing because I discussed it. I discussed it in another episode. But yeah, Dual Suma again, another submission management system. I showed you right the opportunities page for discovering calls. This Duo Suma is usage based, right? So in terms of the cost publishers face for using it, and yeah, so different structure there, right? And they have it on their site, as you can see on my screen, if you're watching on YouTube or the Spotify app or elsewhere. And yeah, so there's a tiny commission fee taken from that, things like that, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, I didn't really see anything there mentioned on Ola in terms of the percentage taken, so submittable takes a percentage, right? I have it in the overview spreadsheet. I don't have all of that memorized off the top of my head, but yeah, just keep that in mind. And yeah, so who knows? I don't know if Ola will ever add, anything further in terms of like optional tip, features or anything like that, in terms of, besides the monthly plans, any other additional things to it, some submission management systems have additional, features and plans and things later on too that they maybe integrate. But I don't know. I think it's cool, how the team behind Asters and Books, right? Josh, right, created that, and also Olieta, now Ola is taking over, right, Olieta, so that's gonna be phased out. And yeah, so I think it's way less expensive than obviously submittable, right? You know yeah, think about it this way, CLMP, right? That membership for lit mags, presses, and everything, right? It depends on, your annual, how much you get for the year, your press or, publishing house or lit mag or press, right? And that determines your annual fee, right? So for us, it was like, $125 a year. And that's not bad. On top of, right, we then have, right, a monthly fee of like $29 a month for our submission management system, Subfolio, right? So yeah, it really is a tremendous cost saving, considering again, Submittable had quoted, the sales or representative or, multiple of interactive Submittable, right? Again, it's like what, like $10,000, several $1,000s a year, for organizations that aren't part of that, right, aren't able to partake in the CLMP membership or anything like that. So tremendous cost savings overall, with these submission management systems, right? Subfolio, right? Dual Suma, Dapple, Ola, right? There's significant savings, and um, it's so important to keep on track of submissions again, right? And again, quoting this off of Ola's site, right? Whether you're just starting an online magazine, a seasoned press looking for new voices, a fellowship seeking thoughtful applicants, or prize committee waiting to be wowed, it has a lot of great use, for it doesn't matter how long you've been running your lit major press. These submission management systems are really can be beneficial to to have one. So totally, take time to listen back to some of the other episodes. I have, I think, a playlist on YouTube, some other channels, not every single one, where you can go through and look at the overviews and the links and stuff like that on the other submission management systems in existence, or just check out the overview I did in bullet points if that helps you, like text based, where I cover, over 8 options in terms of submission management systems. I think there was a list of 13 options in total, alternatives to submittable, right? So, and those aren't all submission management systems. Some of them, again, are just form builders, right? Like Tally, some other ones out there. I mentioned that list. So it is, yeah, again, really cool to hear about the launch of Ola. I think the site design, overall looks very clean, and just like initial login to the portal that I did, it looks pretty, user friendly from what I can tell. Haven't dug into features or began a trial quite yet or anything like that, but will be looking at it further to give a a review of it a little bit further, like a mini review for you guys. and I'll update that guide someday, of comparing some of the ones back to back, because I think that'll help. But yeah, so if you're looking, for more episodes from me, I'm probably gonna do just maybe one or two more. I promise, just one or two more, and then sign off for 2025 here. Yeah, I hope you do enjoy these episodes. If they did help you in other way or form, drop a comment. Totally that helps, and leave some feedback or a thumbs up or thumbs down. I know I talk a lot. I know the episodes are fairly long, but I just like talking through things. It just helps me. So yeah, just try to do cover as much as possible. So do check out Ola and the other Smish Mant systems I shared with you on this podcast, and really see what one works for you if you're really keen on leveraging one. And yeah, I think they do absolutely help. I would definitely not be one to use just solely email. I like having submission management systems in place, even like again, coming from a help desk background and IT support, right, in different companies, ticket management systems, right? I love those. Absolutely. I think they have, again, a lot of similarities between submission management systems and, ticket systems like Zendesk, um, and Jira, right? Pretty well known, in the, IT world, right? And things like that. So, yeah, love them, love submission management systems, and a lot of different options out there now, guys. So you got some choices, it's up to you. I shared my fave one, Subfolio, but haven't, gotten around to reviewing Ola. I'm not really going to move, considering, again, I just moved, right? As I mentioned on the Dapple episode and other ones. So, once you get into a submission man system, it's a good idea to stick with it, long term, right? You're establishing, right, records of all submissions. I didn't see anything mentioning, in terms of Ola, like, the capabilities of like templates and stuff like that. But I'm sure, from Oli Ada, right, some of the features there, I'm sure those carried over, having, some template capabilities, or even, I didn't see any mention of like contractual agreement attachments, things like that, because I know a lot of presses have contracts that they're signed and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe there'll be maybe future features down the road that they add gradually on their roadmap. And totally, it's just starting out, so I'm sure next year it's going to look a lot different than what we currently are seeing right now, in terms of like the back end of it and stuff. Once you dig into it a little bit further, there'll definitely be more features. But for the most part, Def looks cool. The features I read thus far that are have been implemented, and what's to come. So yeah, I think the only other thing I can think of that would be nice to see or mentioned, maybe one day, is payments, integration system some kind, because lit mags, presses, there are totally ones out there that pay writers for their work, right, and have agreements to pay them, right. So again, contract agreements, but also it'd be nice to maybe see a payment system of some kind in here. I think, again, a lot of lit mag journals and presses that are on the CLMP membership was submittable as of 2025 here still, right. Don't get the ability to leverage that built-in payment system they have, award system. And yeah, so I see a lot of publishers still going to leverage things like, right, other payment, cash app stuff, right. So yeah, they're totally having to use other payment systems out to writers, right. Various ones, multiple different ones. I think that's really kind of tough. So yeah, maybe something like that, and yeah. So I think eventually, even on this browse page here, right, this will probably change a little bit further, right. Besides tags, I'm sure they'll add a search of some kind, and a few other options in terms of filtering, maybe. Yeah, so that's the only other comments I have. So yeah, just wanted to share that again. So bye guys, and take care. Yeah.